All right, welcome back. If you watched the video from yesterday, you see we got the front end apart on the G950. Got the pieces laying over here. Yesterday was a full day. Nick Ohio MM was here, and so we did some tractor driving. We got these things out. We started putting together the Kohler motor for the 114 Hydro Moline. But anyway, today I need to clean these up. So that then go back in, I need to clean out the inside of the tubes. And I need to clean out the insides of the tubes on this and get the outside prepped and get it primed and some paint on it because it will start rusting pretty quickly if I don't. And the other thing I need to do is I got to sandblast the exhaust manifold for the A4T, and then I'm going to get some high temp rattle can paint on that before I put that on, hopefully tomorrow. So I'm going to get some heat going on in here, and because it's chilly, and get the sandblast cabinet fired up. And when I start cleaning this out and going over that, and I'll show you guys how I think in my brain I know how I'm going to do it, but we'll see how that works out in person, and hopefully make some progress today. All right, I got the manifolds cleaned up. They're over there. I just hosed them down. Make sure there's no oil on them, letting them dry with that before I prime them. So I had somebody ask me how I'm going to clean out the inside of these tubes, and this is what I've come up with. Duct tape a wire brush to a little metal rod here, and I'm going to kind of brush the teeth of the inside of that tube, and hopefully it works. So that's I'm going to give it a shot and see if my little idea works well. I'm going to run this around in there pretty good, and then I'm going to probably use the blow gun or shot vac or something to try to clean it out in there the best I can. I might also, I have a bore hone over there that I might run in there also. That's about the right size. Seems pretty smooth in there. I am pulling out some more of that crap that was in there burning yesterday, what's left of it. All right, I think that's, see how the brush has got a bunch of crud in it. My duct tape's not holding up as good as I would have hoped. It's kind of sliding around on the metal rod. All right. Go do the other side and then go from there. So as gunky and nasty as the other side was, this side, it's dry and I'm getting rust dust out of it. So I think, yep, not really getting a good view in there because of the tripod, but I'll keep cleaning this out a little bit, and then I got to do the inside of the other tubes also that go inside of here. Before I do the outside, I want to get the insides all clean. All right, so after I cleaned everything up on the outside, I got a coat of primer on the front axle here. Cleaned up the best that I can. Not that it's ideal, but had to do something because that was bare metal. And then got a coat of primer on the exhaust manifolds. So I think those look okay. I cleaned out the inside of these. As you can see, there was a lot. I used my brush. A lot of stuff inside of these. So next I'm gonna continue to throw some paint down and then continue to work on cleaning up the axles, although I probably won't slide those in until tomorrow. I'll let paint dry for a while. So I'm getting ready to clean up these front axles, and definitely if you're doing this, hit up in this area on the knee. If you got to use a sledge, don't hit down here. I had to do a little bit of grinding because we pushed that in a little and this wasn't spinning the way that it should. Definitely the pipe wrench left tool marks in here that I'm gonna have to smooth down before I slide in. And here is the whole problem with why it was stuck in there. You can see where it was rusted in. This one's the same way. Definitely got tool marks, but you can see how rough that surface is where it rusted in. So I'll wire wheel all that, slather never sees on the whole thing before I slide it in, and get it smoothed up. I'll probably end up sliding this stuff in tomorrow. I've got my second coat of high temp paint on the manifold, and I got my second coat of yellow on the front axle. And when that dries, it matches up with the old about as good as you can do, but I had to get something on it so it wouldn't be rusting. So I'll put one more, just kind of a quick coat over top on the areas that you can see, and call that good and let it dry. These heaters, if you're not familiar with them, work great. It's about 60 degrees in here, but what they do is they really heat that area in front of them. And as you can tell, I'm talking and I'm not yelling, so they're not torpedo heaters. They're pretty quiet. So yeah, I'm getting a good amount of heat. I'm actually sweating in here. I should take off some clothes, but I've been rolling around on the ground and I don't want to get my clothes too dirty. So I'm gonna just keep going here, and I'm gonna start smoothing out some of the tool marks on here. I won't wire wheel these until probably tomorrow because I have this fresh paint in here. I don't want to throw dust in the air and then have it getting that yellow paint, because that'll look like crap. So that's the next step here. Third coat done. I think all in all, it's not bad for a rattle can, and it'll keep it from rusting. And once it gets a little bit dirty next summer, it will kind of blend into the rest of the tractor. I wanted to point out, I don't think I mentioned on this exhaust manifold, somebody at some point must not have been able to get a muffler off, and they cut the manifold. So the way those are made, they're made that the first few inches are a little bit smaller for the exhaust to fit on. So I'm glad I checked that before I did all this. So I took the angle grinder, went around that till my muffler would go on about 1.5 inches or so. It is going to be a little bit shorter than a standard one, but it's better than what's on there. They welded it up here, or I would have just swapped out pipes, but they welded it. So it is what it is. It'll work. It'll just, you know, hopefully not leak as much as the other one did, or at all. So I think that's going to be it for today. I need to go out and do a few chores around here, and then go celebrate the New Year's, which is really boring around here. We'll probably be in bed by 10, but we will go. We have a tradition that we do every New Year's. We're going to go do that, and then get some food, eat, go to bed, and then I'm going to be back out here tomorrow to get those cleaned up and in there, and get my tie rods on, and basically get all that set back up. So I will we'll continue this tomorrow. All right, New Year's Day. Happy New Year's to everybody. Let's hope that 2024 is another great year for all of us. And if your 2023 wasn't very good, then let's hope 2024 improves on it. So, came out a little bit ago. I had one heater going. I just fired up the second heater. We got snow last night. It's a little chilly. I put the manifold down there so that it gets cooked a little bit more by the heaters to help that paint cure, and I wanted to get a little more heat on the what I painted yesterday. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take down my workmate, which was my paint stand for the manifold, but I'm going to get the wire wheel out and start cleaning up the tubes on those. And then I was thinking about it last night. I think I'm going to spray some fluid film inside the tubes and then coat the outside with Never Seas. So there's lubricant in there, and that fluid film does a pretty good job of coating everything and preventing rust. You should see what it did on my one trailer that the bottom of that was done. It's no rust on it, and it's an older trailer. So spray that in there, and it also helped it slide in easier. Put Never Seas on the tubes and push it together, get my width set, and then I can put my tie rods on and get my toe in set. And yeah, then that'll be good. The downside is, since it snowed, I don't know if I'm going to do the manifold on the A4T today or not, because there was snow on top of the tire and I got to stand on top of the tire, and I don't really feel like falling and slipping and sliding around on, because that thing's big enough. I don't really have a scaffolding set up, but we'll see how it goes. Just wanted to show a little more clearly why these things get stuck in there. If you can see how rough that is, that's after wire wheeling it pretty good. But that's where the rust was, and gets built up in there. That's the bottom side, way towards the middle. So I'm going to take the angle grinder to that and kind of smooth that down a little bit more. The other side's not quite as bad, but you can see it's got a lot of pitting in there, and it should be smooth. So again, I think putting fluid film in there and then coating this in Never Seas will solve my problem. I smoothed all of those marks down. They don't really look smooth, but there's no sharp edges, so it should slide right in. So get these cleaned up, and then I'll get this thing shoved back together. All right, so I've got it drug over here to the tractor. I ground down quite a bit of that where it was rough. Got Never Seas just on the end. I've coated the inside of the tube with fluid film. So I'm just going to stick the end into the edge of the Never Seas there, and then I'm going to I'll coat the rest of it when it's there, and then shove it the rest of the way in. The reason I'm doing that is so I can grab a hold of in here as I'm putting it in, because this thing is kind of heavy. So I'm going to lift that in there, and then coat that and shove it the rest of the way in, and then I'll work on the other side. So see how this goes. Not too bad, but it's not exactly light. The hub is really heavy. So I'm not going to bore you with coating this with Never Seas. I'll show you when I shove it the rest of the way in. And to find a finger that doesn't have Never Seas all over it, because you know how this stuff is. Once you start messing with it, it's on everything. So you can see I've got it completely coated. There's a lot on there. There's a liberal amount of it on there. And Never Seas is cheap. Doing what I just had to do to get this apart is expensive. Not that I ever plan on doing this again, but just in case. So I want one hole showing is what I'm going for, which is the way that the 955 is set up. I have the rears on this set the same distance that the 955 is, so I want one hole showing. So it's in there. I will now do the other side, and then we'll work on putting everything back in together. Man, I got Never Seas on everything. definitely goes in a lot easier than it came out. No doubt about that. I think neighbor Carl and Phil will 100% agree on that one. The bristles on my brush just completely fell off. So I'm gonna have to go old school here and smear with fingers. That's I don't know why this is a newer bottle. I don't know why the bristles gave up like that, but they did. Here's the rest of the brush. It was down in the can. That's pretty nasty. Oh well. I guess if anybody takes this apart other than me, they're going to wonder why there's so many bristles inside of this thing. One thing I want to make sure is I get it coated well, especially the bottom. That's pretty good. Take off these gloves or I'm going to have never sees on everything. Uh-oh. Why is it getting stiff? Well, I got a sticking point, and I'm not sure why. I don't want to pull that thing back out. I'm going to have to. Dang it. Maybe I should have tested this first. This side was just a lot tighter than the other side. I kind of had to tap it in. There's enough fluid film and never sees in there that hopefully moving forward it will vibrate around in there. I don't ever foresee moving this front end again, so no big deal. So now I need to prep the other pieces to go back in and lock this thing down, and then we can start working on the tie rods. All right, I've coated the locking pins and the U-bolts that go through with never sees, and so I'm going to put this side in right now. Put on new gloves, and I'm pretty sure I just got never sees on this glove too, because this stuff gets on everything. I gotta get a hammer to knock it. Tap it in, I should say. Tapped in, all nice. One U-bolt. And the other U-bolt. So let's put my nuts on there, and then we'll be good. This side done. It's a sight of beauty right there. I'm just going to stop right here and admire this for a moment, because seeing this narrowed up is what I've been shooting for. So that's a beautiful sight. All right, we got a thing of beauty. We got her all back together. I didn't film this side because I had never seized all over my hands. I didn't want to get it all over the camera. It's just a pain messing with that stuff, but I'll wipe off where I have the excess around there just so that doesn't get on everything for the next 100 years. But now I need to get my tie rods off of here, and then get my new tie rods on here, and then get things set, get them adjusted correctly for my toe in. I'll have to get the tires on for that so I can do measuring, but that's the next step. All right, I got the nuts off those. They're stuck in there. So a lot of people will try to knock these from the top and knock them out. That's it's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to tap next to of course, it probably doesn't help that it was in a bind, but you just tap here, that surface there, and they'll drop out. If you try to pound it down, it will fight you forever and not come out very easily. So got those out. Now I can get my new ones and get them hooked up. So I put my tie rods on, got them adjusted roughly, and then I was going back and forth. There's a tape on the floor over there measuring between the front of the hub to front of the hub to back of the hub, back of the hub. Right now I have 68 inches equal on both sides. So now I need to put my tires on, because if I try to set my toe in here, it's going to be off by the time you put the tire on and you add 15 inches or whatever out. So the smallest variation is going to make a big difference. So I need to jack up the front end and put my tires on and then measure my toe in there. So that's what I need to do. This is such a mess under here. This whole process right here is going to be kind of a pain. All right, got the tires on. As luck may have it, my toe in was only off a little bit. I did one turn on each side on the front, and that gave me a 1/4 inch toe in. These tires are the same type tires. I'm going from inside of the tri-rib to inside of the tri-rib. So I have 1/4 inch toe in, which I just checked in the IT manual is what it requires. So what I need to do now is tighten up both sides of the tie rod and the bolt and the lock nut there. I need to tighten all those things up, and then I can drop this thing down on the ground, get my stands out of the way, get my floor jack out of the way, maybe clean up some of this mess on the floor, and then I can call this front end project done. I'm going to throw some grease in all those fittings too, and in the axle, because especially the front pivot, as hot as that got, I'm sure one's going to want some grease. That's what's next on the list. Alright, we'll tighten these up first. Alright, nice and tight, and then I'll grab the 15/16, which is what tie rod end takes. I kind of want to do this by hand because I want to make sure the inside's not spinning. I don't want to use a ratchet. Line up my hole so I can put my cotter pin through to lock that. Then I'm going to do the same. Probably kind of dumb that I got the floor jack in the way, because I don't need it anymore, but I'll leave it there. It's kind of nice that it's New Year's Day. I feel good. I slept good. I went to bed early. I mentioned yesterday Wife and I have kind of a tradition we do on New Year's Eve. We did that last night, and which just, you know, we're real exciting. We go to the zoo, and because they have a good light display at the zoo, and then we stop and get Chinese food on the way home. And I think I was in bed asleep at like 10. But you know what? I got up this morning, got a workout in, we've got some things done in the house, and I'm out here finishing up this project. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good, feeling real good, other than the fact I ate Chinese food last night. Let's face it, salty Chinese food. Although it tastes good at the time, I drank a lot of water today. There is football on today, but I'm not even sure I want to watch because it's that team that I don't like that Moline Dan made a bet with me about. Although if they get beat, that might be worth watching. But as I said the other day, about done with college football. So, got all that tightened up. I think I can just go ahead and let the floor jack down now. Oops, forgot. Still have my jack stands in the way. That was brilliant. And she's on all fours again. Gosh dang, it feels good. Feels so good. Looks pretty well lined up the way that I want it to be lined up. And I think it looks pretty good. The axle being painted, I painted the tie rods when I got them, they were gray. So until I drive it a little, and then I'll check my toe, and I need to put my cotter pins in all the ends there to make sure that my tie rods nuts don't come off. And I'm gonna put my grill back in. And that's about all I can do, I think, on this today, unless I'm missing something. And I'm gonna do some cleanup, a bunch of cleanup. All right, that's what I'm gonna get to. Well, I made a decision. I'm gonna try tack on this. It's kind of dried off. I got to get the exhaust off, I got to get the air cleaner off, and I've got to get this side of the hood off in order to access the exhaust manifold. So yeah, see how this goes. I don't know how difficult it is going to be to do this, but about ready to find out. Well, that went pretty well. The air cleaner slid right off, and the exhaust down there unscrewed, and I was able to pull the whole pipe out. And all right, so the battery died, got the hood off, and looks like I just have 9 bolts to get off, get the manifold off, and clean it up, get the new gaskets on, get everything sealed up. Hopefully it goes back together pretty easily. So that's what the plan is right now, is to get those 9 bolts out. All right, so I've gotten all the outside ones out, only one stud spun out. They used 3 washers on every one of these, and the problem is the washers are kind of welded on there, but well, there's another stud. And one more. I'm trying to do this. All right, she moved. So I'm gonna need both hands for this. because she acts like she wants to come off. And I don't know if I can set you there. You can see I don't have a newer GoPro like Moline Dan where he can look at the front of the camera and see what he's filming. But I'm going to guess this thing's going to come off right now. Alright. Try not to fall. Whew. Grab you guys. Gaskets are all still on there. But here is the reason I needed to get this thing off. And get a hold of the bottom of it. That hole right there is what saved that engine. But it's also pretty annoying now that I got a cap on it. So I'm gonna clean up these gaskets and get the new ones on, and then I'll get the new one out here and put it on, or a new used one. It's kind of amazing, but there's no pitting in any of those surfaces, so that's good. I'm just going to clean these up real quick. Pretty good. I'll wipe it all down, put some RTV on it, put gasket on, more RTV, then manifold. But so far so good. In the top, the engine doesn't look too bad. I mean, the hood's been on her all these years. It's kept it pretty safe. That top radiator hose looks like the original hose. I'm probably gonna have to replace that here eventually. And my water's circulating water here is not working real well. The hose goes up, it goes into the top of the manifold here, which goes in. I wonder if something to do with the thermostat, and there's not letting the water circulate back around because it comes out of the bottom of the block, goes back in. I got to figure that out. But anyway, we'll get some brake cleaner and a rag, wipe all that off, and then start putting this thing back together. Alright, I got the gaskets on there. Got gasket sealer around each hole on each side of the gasket. Brought out the manifold. I've done the same to the manifold. Now, the other one came down as one piece because it was carbon together. I think it's going to be easier for me to take this up one piece at a time and just leave it loose so I can work the other piece so I can get it together and then start tightening it down. At least that's my plan right now. We'll see how this works out. Yeah, that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to do the heavy side first. This is not necessarily easy because I'm straddling a ladder and the axle here. All right, so I think that'll stay there for me to go get the other part. Oh, don't fall. This is maybe a mistake, not having an extra set of hands here. Ah, crap. Stay. All right. Now they had 3 washers on every single one of these. Not sure why, but I don't really feel like messing with what was working, kind of. Well, I guess it's not their fault that that it rusted out. I know that was only 2, but I wanted to get that one held. Okay, and then the other one was the whole stud came out. Just enough to put some tension on it. It's chilly out here, but it's not too cold. So I'm not going to make you watch me put all these washers back on, but it looks better than the other one and there's no hole in it. So I'm going to get this tightened down and we'll put the hood on. That pipe is definitely shorter. It was cut down, but it's not necessarily a horrible thing. And then we'll get this thing put back together. All right, it's on and it's tightened, and I've got the gasket, liquid gasket, kind of puking out a little bit, which means I've got good compression. And yeah, hopefully the middle will carbon up there nicely and it won't leak too long. And yeah, so now I need to let's see, I need to put the hood back on, put the air cleaner back on, and put the muffler on. Yep, I can think. All right, I'm gonna step down and step back just a little, not trip over everything I've got here, but yeah, it's this muffler, if you've not seen my videos of this thing running, there's a hole in the bottom, there's a hole there in the side. This one was done, and I'm sure this is pretty welded together, so I will save this pipe because the threads are still good down here, but that muffler's junk. So put this thing back together. All right, I'm gonna call that success. Looks good. Got a new muffler coming. That's the one off the 950, but I can put it on it because the 950 doesn't, I don't have an exhaust manifold for it right now. I'm not gonna start it today. I'm gonna let that form a gasket kind of cure for a few days, I need to get a clamp anyway for around the bottom of the muffler there. I don't know why they did 4 inches in and like 2 3/4 out. I don't know why they restricted it down. I can't wait to see what it sounds like. But I got the old stuff sitting here. I cut off all that nasty screen that was around the air filter. And what I need to do, that's an Oliver thing, Oliver air filter. That's what the 955 has on it. So I think I can get stuff to make that look a lot better, or I'll replace it with one more like the Moline had with, it was just a plastic piece. But inside of that was one big mud dauber's nest. So that was in the pipe, so that can't be good. But yeah, overall, step back so you can get the full aesthetic view of what it's going to look like with the new muffler. And I can't wait to hear again, without a hole in the manifold, what it's going to sound like. And then I walked in here, I was going back and forth getting parts, and every time I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, that looks good. Narrowed up, sitting there on all 4 wheels. I'm couldn't be much more happy. 4 days off of work, it really makes it hard to go back to work when I see how much I can get done just not being there. Retirement can't come quick enough. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys watching and liking and subscribing. And if you're new, I hope you stick around and subscribe. And for my viewers, I appreciate you. I did have a question the other day on what was the torque on the manifold bolts was, and I looked it up, couldn't find a number in the book. But anyway, I'm real happy with how the 950 looks. I'm happy with that gasket or the new manifold on the A4T. And yeah, there you can see the air filter on the 955. But anyway, Happy New Year to everybody, and I'm looking forward to a really good 2024. Getting these things going, keeping on working on them, going to shows, continuing to meet my fellow Moline enthusiasts. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll have another video for you soon. You'll have to wait, but coming will be the video of the A4T running with the new muffler on it and new exhaust manifold. So I hope you're as excited for that as I am.